Hey YouTube, this is Atheist Brit here. Kent Hovind once said, we've been teaching the kids that they're nothing but animals, and today a lot of them act like animals. Aside from the obvious ridiculousness of this statement, I think that Hovind is actually using an argument that could very easily be turned back on itself. Couldn't the phrase equally have read, we've been teaching the kids that they're nothing but sinners, and today a lot of them are acting like sinners? I hope that illustrates the obvious hypocrisy, for starters. But there is a more important point here. Consider for a moment, if you will, the Christian view of human life. Adam and Eve were created by the divine hand of God. They were his finest creation. They were perfect, sin-free creatures, but unfortunately, they disobeyed God and were banished from the Garden of Eden, and thereby doomed the entire race into sin for the rest of eternity. Christian teaching dictates that we can never be good enough for God. No matter how hard we try, no matter how many good deeds we do, we'll never be good enough to meet his approval. We're nothing but dirty, filthy sinners, slaves to Satan and all his moral depravity, and we're doomed to eternal hellfire until we submit to God's will entirely and grovel pathetically for forgiveness from Jesus Christ. Compare this then, if you will, to the Darwinian evolutionary view. Humankind had its roots in tree-climbing primates, who, by human standards, were rather crudely intelligent, crafting a few simple tools or perhaps grunting out a primitive language. Over a few million years, which is a mere blip in geological time, the creatures which would eventually become us invented ever more ingenious ways to cope with their own survival. Out of our sheer will to survive, our own capacity to adapt to our environment, humankind hauled itself up from its primitive origins, entirely on its own, unaided by any divine hand. By itself, human civilization created all the everyday miracles we are now accustomed to. From the simplest of breakthroughs, such as making our own fire to keep ourselves warm and ward off predators, to the most amazing endeavours, such as sending people into space and mapping the human genome. Of course, the real point here is that none of this has any relevance at all to the validity of the theory of evolution. Whether or not you choose it to be an optimistic or a pessimistic view of our origins doesn't change the fact that it's true. Scientific education is about the pursuit of truth and knowledge, regardless of whether it's comforting to us or whether it's socially acceptable. But, as Darwin himself said, there is grandeur in this view of life. The fact that we began as primitive tree-dwelling primates with no language, no culture, no inventions, and dragged ourselves upright to walk steadily towards our destiny as the intelligent, ingenious, culturally rich, massively successful species that we are today, is surely something to be extremely proud of. If we teach our kids that we come from animals, perhaps they'll see just how far we've come. Thanks for listening.